Hey guys, it's Jerrod Cook here at the Perry Company in Waco, Texas. We manufacture the Fortress product line, and today I'm going to show you how to put on the Can-Am half doors. These doors are starting to get out there in the field, and we want to give you every resource available to get them on quickly and correctly. So stay tuned. All right guys, first things first, we're going to go ahead and pop off this B pillar plastic and the C pillar plastic. We're using the same tools, might as well do both at one time. So here we go. All right, so next we're going to look at these two bottom bolts, the bottommost bolts that attach this roll bar down to the body mounts. And on the exterior of that, you're going to need, I believe it's a 17 millimeter, 15 millimeter. And then on the interior, we're going to use a 15 millimeter as well. And we're just going to go ahead and loosen those up, get them ready to uninstall. All right guys, stay with us. We're going to go ahead and put on the lower bracketry here in just a minute. All right guys, we're going to install the lower bracketry, and there's a couple of nuances between the units. So this is a 17 or 18. On the 22s and 23s, there is a piece of plastic in here. I think other manufacturers cut that. We've designed around cutting that, so you don't have to worry about that. But let's get into it. We are going to be installing this lower outer bracketry. You can see we've obviously already installed this with a serrated flange bolt before, but I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And so first we're going to want to pry up on this roll bar to where we can get these two main bolts out. And let me see if I can do that quickly. All right, so we've relieved pressure, we've removed the bolts, and now what we're going to do is we're going to install a Perry supplied bolt. This is a 10 millimeter by 80 millimeter, and what we want you to do is go ahead and put on an external tooth washer onto that bolt. We're going to feed that through this bottom hole right here, and then we're going to feed that into the roll bar. Now, just as we had to pry to get those other bolts out, we're most likely going to have to pry to get this one in. Go. All right, so that leaves us ready to put in the other bolt, that top bolt. So there again, you're going to have your bolt with your external tooth washer. And it looks like we're going to have to pry a little bit to get this one in. There we go. So now we're going to install a washer and a serrated flange nut on the back of both of these bolts in preparation to put on that interior lower bracket. Washer and nut. All right, we're going to tighten this down, and then we're going to be right back and we'll do that inner bracket. All right guys, I have hammered this down. It is a 15 millimeter on the exterior and 15 millimeter on the interior as well. And what we're going to do now is we're going to install this inner mounting bracket. You can see we have already installed this with the serrated flange nut. Very easy install. Simply slip this over the bolts you previously installed, and you put a serrated flange nut on top and one on bottom. We'll tighten that up and go from there. Now this install is exactly the same on the rear. And on the passenger side, all of this, again, exactly the same. We just have some mirrored bends to deal with. But notice here, you're not cutting any plastic. There is no plastic to cut during this install. And so we'll get this tightened up, and then we're going to put the B-pillar plastic back on, and then we'll start to mount the door and the filler panel for that. All right, guys, I'm going to put the B-pillar plastic back on. You will have a little tight fit, but you're going to tuck the inside of this plastic just right in there. Make sure that it fits around back. And then we'll go ahead and put in our hardware back to its original factory location. All right, so you'll notice we do have a nice tight fit here, but again, no cutting plastic. This is on the unit. It is stout. So we are ready to install our front filler panel. One thing to note is that when you're trying to determine whether it's a front or rear, on the front you're going to have some overhang past the filler panel in the back. And so you will have some overhang there. That's the best way to identify. Let me see if I've got the other. So if you look at these from the interior, this is the front and this is the rear. You can see how that terminates all at one spot back here. You've got the overhang on the front. So as we install this front panel, we're going to need to grab a male bullet hinge. I already have the brass washer on this, and so I'm just going to lay that over the top, lining up the holes. And then we have a 1/4 by 1 inch bolt that we're going to put in there. And I'm going to take this bolt here, and I'm going to line it up with that top hole in this top bracket. Once I do that, that panel will pretty much be set in place, ready to go. I'm going to take a steel washer and a 1/4 inch serrated flange nut. Go ahead and put that in. All right. We're going to use the same hardware on each one of these holes, with the exception of the bottom. You will not use the steel washer on that bottom hole. All right, guys, now we're going to install the driver side striker bracket. Really pretty simple install. You do have 2 nuts that are welded on the back side, and essentially all you're going to do is you're going to slide this up into place. 5/16 by 3/4 bolt. We're going to find those holes in there. The only other thing to do here before you tighten it down is you do have a little bit of play in it. You just want to get it you want to get it pretty level, pretty easy thing to do. Then we're going to use a 1/2 inch socket or box end to hammer that down. All right, so now we're going to go back and install the door and the latch system. All right, guys, now the fun part. We get to install the front door on this unit. Right after this, we're going to install the latch guard and the latch. I'll show you that here in a minute. But right now, we're going to install this door. And we have these female bullet hinges here at the back. We're going to marry those to the male. We've left both sets, the male and the female, loose, and you just slide those down on here. Sometimes they need to be pulled together, but now you have a hinging door. We'll be back in just a second, and I'm going to show you how to put on that latch and latch guard. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the dual rotary latch and the latch guard. The first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we line these 2 pieces up correctly. You should have these 2 elongated slots towards the exterior, and obviously the top of each one of these kind of run together, if you will. And so we're going to hold those together. I'm going to go ahead and put in a bolt and a washer. We will call that out specifically in the video. Now, once we get that on, we are then going to move to the interior of the unit and put that on. So I'll kind of move this door back and forth to be able to show you what exactly we're doing. And we do have these nice button heads that we're going to use with a 1/4 inch washer there at the back. We do have a steel washer on the interior and a 1/4 inch serrated flange nut on the interior as well. So we do the top and we do the bottom. Perfect. Now obviously this is loose right now. We'll tighten all of this up. But essentially what you should be looking at is you should be wanting to get, you don't want that bracket cocked. You want to get it parallel. Typically I'll put it right there in the middle to get started, but this is going to be a point of adjustment for us, so that if that striker is not quite catching as much as it should or more than it should by hitting here, then you can move this forward and rearward to get exactly what you want. I'm going to take some time, tighten all this up, and then we'll be right back with you. All right guys, now we're going to adjust the door, and we're going to do that in a couple of different places. We're going to tighten it up, and we're going to be done with the front, moving to the rear. And so as I go to close this door, what I'm going to be looking for is obviously we still have that loose, and so I'm going to kind of pick up on the door a little bit, and I'm going to try to get 2 clicks. You always want 2 clicks. And so right here, all of my body lines, my trim, all looks really good. If that was not the case, what I would be doing is I would be adjusting this striker up or down so that whenever I latch it, it hits where I want it to hit with 2 clicks. I can't express enough how important it is to get 2 clicks on these dual locking rotary latches. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this door. Everything looks really good to me, and so I'll start over here. And that is the install for the front door. Really, really pleased with that. Let's move on to the back. All right guys, we're gonna speed through this back door just to show you how quick and easy it is to get a door on. The one thing that's different about this rear door is how we mount the striker. We'll take some time at the end to go back through that. So we'll be back in just a second. All right guys, so we're going to talk about the rear striker bracket just real quick. Obviously we have the striker pin down here. We do have an elongated slot that will allow you to loosen the striker pin, move it up and down, plenty of play there. That is something that once you get it set in place, you do want to lock it down. But essentially all you're going to do is you're going to take 2 bolts, and we'll call that out in the video, and you're going to screw them into the factory holes that are in the roll bar here as such. Tighten them down. There's not just a ton of adjustability. There's not a lot of adjustability in these holes. It really all comes down to that slot. And so once you get that in place, then you can tighten that up. And pretty simplistic. All right guys, so we got the doors installed. I'm really excited. It only took me about 10 minutes on this rear door. Obviously, we didn't have the shoulder bar on here. We had already taken that off. We had already taken the nets off, and so let's call it 15 minutes. But had a good time today installing these. I will say that not every unit is created the same. some of these roll bars can be a little different, and so that's why we've built in the adjustability. Throughout the install, you saw elongated slots for the hinges, also up here for the latch, for the striker. Those are all points of adjustment that you should use each and every one of to get the perfect fit. Again, on the latch, when you're adjusting the latch, make sure you get 2 clicks. It is a dual rotary latch, and it's just like when you shut your car door but you don't shut it all the way and it's kind of still wiggling. That's exactly the same automotive technology that we're using here, so it's important that you get that adjusted. On the ceiling of the unit, down around here especially, if you have any gaps between the plastic, and I'm talking small gaps, but if you have any gaps there, this trim, we've bought a little bit longer leg on it so that you can just simply push that out down towards the plastic to get the seal that you desire. So if you guys have any questions, if you'd like to order the product or just any questions at all, please call us here at the Perry Company. We'd love to help you. Thanks.